The Galactic Alliance arrived over Earth without warning. Their massive ships hovered silently above the clouds, casting long shadows across cities and oceans. The world froze. Every country stopped what it was doing. No one expected like this. The aliens called themselves the Zorvani. Tall, pale, and calm. They claimed to come in peace. They told Earth's leaders that the Alliance had decided to include humans in their growing union of intelligent species. As a sign of trust, they gave Earth a gift: technology. Weapons, they said, to help defend this new partnership. When the crates arrived, Earth's top scientists gathered. Everyone expected sleek high-tech designs. But what came out of the boxes confused everyone. The weapons looked strange, ugly even. Heavy metal, sharp angles, parts that didn't move or glow. Some were dented, others didn't turn on. They had no manuals, no energy sources, and no obvious function. Most looked like broken tools from a forgotten time. Some scientists whispered that it might be a test, but behind closed doors, the real truth came out. The Zorvani had laughed. Not openly, not in front of cameras, but their private transmissions were intercepted. In their language, Earth's tech teams discovered the truth. Give the humans the broken ones. Let them believe they matter. Let them play with old toys. They won't know the difference. The aliens hadn't given Earth anything useful. This wasn't a gift. It was a joke. Leaders debated. Some wanted to send the weapons back. Others wanted to prepare for war. But one woman said nothing at first. She just watched. Dr. Lena Hart, a quiet weapons engineer from Geneva, stayed in her lab day and night. She didn't laugh. She didn't panic. She studied the weapons closely. Something didn't sit right. These aren't alien, she said one night, staring at the wiring in one of the larger weapons. Not entirely. No one listened at first, but Lena kept working. She scanned each device, took them apart piece by piece. Inside the metal, beneath strange alien panels, she found something familiar. Patterns. Connections, small circuits that looked eerily close to Earth's own designs. One night, deep inside her lab, she ran a signal test. A low-energy pulse, barely. A whisper came from the weapon. Every light in the room flickered. Her screen went dark. Her tablet rebooted itself. And when it came back, a strange code was flashing. Echo core detected. Input required. Lena froze. She checked the power source. Again, there wasn't one. The weapon had turned on by itself. Not with alien energy. With something else. The next morning, she brought her findings to the Defense Council. These weapons, they react to something only we can give them. Not alien control. Human. Some still didn't believe her. But the military gave her one chance. They took the largest weapon to a remote base in the Arctic. Lena powered it, using a signal she built herself, based on the strange code she saw. At first, nothing happened. Then suddenly, satellites above the Earth started to go dark. Not destroyed, just offline. One by one, communication systems across the globe went silent. Planes rerouted. Military bases lost tracking. And then, just as quickly, everything came back online. It was like nothing had happened. But it had reviewed the logs. The weapon didn't fire anything. No beam, no heat, no sound. It had simply touched the satellites with invisible code. It knew how to control them. And it had done it with complete silence. The generals were stunned. The weapon they had all called useless broken was smarter than anything they had ever seen. More powerful but it hadn't come from the Zor. Not really. Lena stared at the no glowing lines inside the weapon's frame. She whispered more to herself than anyone else. These weren't built by aliens. These were ours. Somewhere in orbit, a Zorvani scout ship watched silently. Its commander reported back to the Alliance. The humans are testing the weapons, but they still don't know what they have. He was wrong. Lena knew something now. Earth had just awakened something old, something hidden, something forgotten. And this was only the beginning. Asterisk, Lena couldn't sleep. The strange message from the weapon wouldn't leave her mind. Echo core detected. Input required. That single line changed everything. It meant the device wasn't just technology, it was listening. It was waiting. But for what? She returned to the lab, the Arctic wind howling outside the base, the sky dark and quiet. The weapon, now softly glowing, rested in the center of the room like it had always belonged there. She connected it to a secured console and input a basic code in binary. Nothing. Then she tried something unusual. Instead of alien logic or Earth's latest programs, she entered a command an old human binary protocols code used before. Earth had even reached space. The device reacted. Lines of light ran across the surface. A screen flickered open from within, and strange symbols danced across it. But not all of them were alien. Mixed in were English words, technical phrases, old military abbreviations, some dating back over 100 years. That's when Lena's hands froze over the keyboard. This wasn't new alien tech. It was old human design, but buried inside alien shells. The realization hit her hard. These weren't just gifted weapons, they were returned weapons, modified, disguised, but still ours. She sent an emergency message to Earth's Scientific Council. The weapons aren't broken, they're locked. And they're responding to human systems, not alien ones. Meanwhile, in a quiet chamber deep in space, a group of Zorvani watched her progress. One of them frowned. They're getting closer. He whispered, too fast. Back on Earth, the team recovered another device. It was smaller, round, like a sphere with etched lines. Most believed it was decorative or broken, but Lena recognized something odd. The patterns matched ancient Earth star maps, only slightly distorted. She placed it on a scanner. A pulse ran through the table. Suddenly a projection filled the room star's ship's coordinates. But the map didn't show the current galaxy, it showed something else. A route, a trail, leading from Earth, into the unknown. The room fell silent. Lena stared at the hologram. This is a record, a path taken long ago, she said quietly. Whoever built these weapons, they left. But they planned to return. No one had ever heard of such a thing, but Lena believed it. The Galactic Alliance had never spoken about humans' distant past. They called Earth a young world, new, curious, but the data told a different story. Someone, maybe Earth's ancestors, had once traveled far beyond the stars, and now, the Zorvani had brought back pieces of that past, thinking we'd be too ignorant to understand them. But Lena wasn't laughing. She shared her findings with a few trusted engineers and linguists. Together they found more hidden commands. In the weapons, written in layered code, like a message within a message, it said, Protocol Echo, in case of collapse, scatter the Guardians. Do not let the network die. Hide them in plain sight. Await return. Collapse. Guardians. Network. The pieces began to form a bigger picture. These weren't just weapons. They were part of a system, an ancient human defense system. Something the galaxy tried to erase, and now it was returning. But not everyone was happy about it. From across the stars, the Council of High Races held a quiet emergency meeting. Earth was never supposed to unlock those systems. One said, we gave them the remains to test their limits. They were not supposed to understand, but they do, another replied. We underestimated them. Again, still, Earth knew nothing about this secret meeting. All Lena knew was that every device they had tested responded the same way. It recognized human command, human DNA, and human thinking. The rest of the world still believed the weapons were useless. Only her small team knew the truth. She kept digging. Her newest test involved syncing two of the devices, a long rifle-shaped object and a strange disc. When linked, they created a soft field around the lab. At first, no one noticed anything, until one of the guards walked through the field and disappeared for 3 seconds. He reappeared unharmed, confused. He had no memory of the moment he vanished. The test logs showed a gap in time. The field didn't teleport him, it paused him, not travel time. That changed everything. If the devices could bend or slow time in small fields, even for a few seconds, it meant they were far more advanced than any known alien tech. It meant Earth wasn't just unlocking forgotten weapons, it was waking up something the galaxy had buried. And now it was listening. One of the devices activated by itself that night. No one touched it. It just lit up and sent a single pulse through the global network. Satellites blinked, then returned to normal. Lena ran to the screen. A single message appeared, translated by the system itself. Echo confirmed. Stand by for reactivation. She stood in silence, watching those words. Something had received the signal. Something far away, or perhaps very close. She didn't know what would come next, but she knew one thing with certainty. Earth wasn't just discovering old weapons. It was rejoining something it had once left behind. Snow fell silently outside Lena Hart's isolated research lab, but inside, things were anything but quiet. The strange pulse from the weapon had triggered more than just a system message. It had woken up something old. Deep in the encrypted logs, coordinates began to appear, not in space. On Earth. They pointed to a forgotten place. Beneath Antarctica, the location was buried under kilometers of ice, with no known records, no settlements, no satellite tags, just emptiness. But according to the weapon's memory, something was hidden there. Something important. Lena gathered a small team of engineers and scientists. The world still didn't know the full truth, and the Zorvani remained silent. Earth's military had started to pay attention, but they moved slowly. Lena couldn't wait. With clearance from a private global agency, they flew to Antarctica on a secured transport. What they found beneath the ice wasn't natural. It started with a perfect metal ring, too smooth to be ice, too exact for randomness. As they dug deeper, more of the structure revealed itself. A wide underground dome, perfectly circular, with lines carved into the steel like ancient code. One of the team members scanned it. The patterns looked familiar. Lena leaned over, eyes wide. These aren't alien symbols, she whispered. They're old Terran designations, systems used by military branches from over 2,000 years ago. The moment they connected one of the activated weapons to the dome's surface, the entire structure began to hum. Lights lit up, blue and soft, running like veins through the walls. The temperature around them dropped instantly, but no one moved. A circular door opened downward into darkness. The lab's power systems flickered. Lena led the way. Inside the vault, everything was silent. The air was dry. The halls were lined with equipment, strange machines, half-completed weapons, and data drives stacked in old magnetic containers. On the far wall was a symbol they hadn't seen in centuries. The old Earth Unity logo, long before modern nations existed. a sign from an era when Earth had spoken as one voice. Lena approached the central console. It had no screen, no interface, just a single, smooth panel. She placed her hand on it. The vault came alive, not with light, but with memory. A voice, synthetic but human, echoed through the chamber. Vault echo activated. Guardian protocols initialized awaiting human directive. The team stood frozen. The system had recognized her. A projection appeared in midair, holograms of ships, weapons, and something more, old records. Lena scrolled through them. The files told a forgotten story. Thousands of years ago, Earth had reached beyond the stars. Humans had not just explored the galaxy, they had helped build it. Back then, humanity had its own systems, its own fleets, and a protective force called the Guardians. Not warriors, but peacekeepers. A group designed to balance power in the galaxy. But something happened. A great collapse. Systems failed. Memory was lost. Humanity turned inward, and the galaxy moved on. The Guardians scattered their tools and weapons across the stars, hiding them in vaults like this one, waiting for a future generation to remember. Lena read every line with disbelief. "We didn't lose the past," she said softly. "It was hidden." She checked the other vaults listed in the directory. Some were marked destroyed. Others were listed as reclaimed by foreign entities. One line stood out. Core technology misidentified and redistributed by external power. Code ZVTRK. ZV. Zorvani. The pieces fit. The Zorvani had found some of Earth's old Guardian tech, but they didn't understand it. They labeled it junk, locked it up, and later offered it back to humanity as a false gift. They never expected humans to unlock it again. Back on the surface, Lena shared the vault's location with trusted officials. She didn't send a full report, only part of it. She knew not everyone could be trusted yet, but not all messages stayed secret. Across the stars, Zorvani ships began changing course. Something about the energy signature from the Antarctica vault triggered their sensors, and others watching quietly from a distance began to take interest. Some feared what was waking. Others remembered. One race, long silent, opened a hidden channel toward Earth. Their message was short. "We thought you were gone. If the vaults are opening, the old ways may return." Earth's leaders were confused. Some wanted to shut everything down. Others demanded to study the tech and control it. But Lena knew one thing clearly. Earth was no longer a quiet planet on the edge of the galaxy. Not anymore. The old story of humanity once erased was being written again. Not in books or files, but in action. She stood at the vault entrance, staring at the rising sun over the icy horizon. There were other vaults. There were more devices. And somewhere out there, maybe even the last Guardians. She didn't know what they'd find next, but she felt it in her chest. The galaxy was starting to remember Earth. And this time, Earth was ready to remember itself. Word of the activation spread faster than anyone on Earth expected. Though the team had tried to keep the Antarctica vault quiet, something in the signal reached far beyond the planet's atmosphere. The moment Lena powered the old Guardian system, a quiet ripple echoed through deep space, an energy wave unlike any used by current galactic tech. At first, no one noticed, but hours later, on the outer edges of known space, strange things began to happen. Ships lost navigation for a few seconds. Star beacons blinked out. Old satellites in dead orbits suddenly came back online, broadcasting codes no one had heard in thousands of years. Galactic databanks flagged the signal as unknown but ancient. The symbol that came with it was older than any current flag, yet unmistakably Terran. Back on Earth, Lena watched the results with growing concern. The vault had done more than unlock memories. It had sent a message. The Guardian systems were waking again. But what they didn't know was who else was listening. In the central systems of the Galactic Alliance, an emergency council gathered. Leaders of multiple species met in secrecy. A projection floated above the round table, an image of the Earth Unity symbol and a line of code no one had seen in generations. Echo Core online, awaiting directive, whispers broke out. How did they activate it? We gave them only scraps. Those weapons were supposed to be empty. One voice, calm but sharp, cut through the noise. They were never empty. We just never knew how to read them. And now humans do. The room fell silent. Back on Earth, Lena stood at the edge of a new discovery. Within the vault's files, she found records of hidden satellite nodes orbiting Earth deactivated centuries ago. According to the logs, they were part of a cloaked network built by early spacefaring humans, meant to observe the stars and maintain peaceful balance between rising powers. Most of those satellites were gone now, but two remained. She contacted Earth's orbital command quietly and got access to the satellite tracking system. After hours of searching, they found one node barely alive hidden behind the shadow of the moon. They reactivated it from the vault, and within minutes, the system began pulling data from across the stars. The result was shocking. Dozens of alien fleets had changed course. Ships that had no reason to approach Earth were now heading toward the Sol system. Not fast, not in full force, but watching, listening. And then one fleet stopped just outside of Earth's sensor range. No messages, no threats, just silence. The public didn't know yet, Earth's leaders debated whether to make an announcement, but Lena knew something deep was happening. Not just fear, but something else. Curiosity, respect, maybe even caution, because for the first time in recent history, the galaxy didn't see Earth as weak, but unknown. One of the alien scouts finally broke silence. A transmission came in, encoded in ancient trade language. It wasn't directed to Earth's current diplomats. It was sent to the vault. Echo Core is the directive restored. The message confused everyone. Lena responded carefully. The core is active. Directive not yet known. There was no reply. The ship turned and left. Meanwhile, Lena's team began testing another device from the crate of useless weapons. It looked like a small orb with 6 retractable panels. When powered, it created a silent dome field. Inside the dome, time seemed slower. Movement was delayed. Voice distorted, but systems operated perfectly. They tested it on communications. Messages sent inside the field arrived seconds earlier than when they were written. Time wasn't just slowed, it was being bent. This wasn't warfare tech. It was something else entirely. Control, balance, strategy without destruction. Guardian tech was designed to manage peace, not force dominance. And yet, that very design was now making powerful races nervous. Lena saw it clearly. The weapons weren't meant to fight wars. They were meant to stop them before they began. But what frightened the galactic powers the most was that Earth had figured it out. The next day, a delegation ship arrived in Earth's orbit. It belonged to the Varnaxi, a neutral species known for diplomacy. They requested a meeting not with Earth's political leaders but with Lena and her team. The message was short. We recognize the seal of the Guardians. If Earth remembers the directive, we wish to speak. The world watched in silence. A human scientist once mocked for digging into junk technology was now receiving direct messages from ancient allies and cautious enemies. At the private meeting, the Varnaxi revealed a piece of history Earth never knew. Long ago, the galaxy had faced imbalance. One species tried to take control of all others. In response, the Guardians formed a group of advanced civilizations led by early humans, whose mission was not to conquer, but to restore balance. When the Guardians vanished, the galaxy rewrote its stories. The memory of Earth's leadership faded. The Council rose. New powers took control, but the systems were never destroyed. They were hidden. And now, Earth was waking them up. Lena asked only one question. Why give us back the weapons if you feared us remembering? The Varnaxi paused. Because not all of us wanted you to forget. She returned to the vault that night, staring at the display of star systems. Each one marked with Guardian beacons, dormant, silent, waiting. She knew now, Earth had not just been chosen. It had once chosen itself, and the galaxy was beginning to feel that choice once again. The air inside Vault Echo felt different now. Warmer, charged, like it remembered what it was. Lena stood at its center, watching as more of the systems slowly came online, one by one. Old displays once thought to be dead now responded to her voice. Maps updated. Files unlocked. Lights flickered softly, not with force but with purpose. Earth wasn't just unlocking ancient tools. It was restoring a forgotten identity. But beyond Earth, things were changing quickly. Across the galaxy, small factions began to move. Some races had once served under the Guardians long ago. Others had only heard of them through whispers, passed down over generations. The moment Earth reactivated the first vault, a wave of old memories returned to many corners of the stars. Those who remembered spoke in cautious tones. Those who didn't started to worry. The Galactic Alliance, still quiet on the surface, sent observation drones near Earth's orbit. Officially, it was a routine scan. Unofficially, it was fear disguised as curiosity. On the edge of the Sol system, 3 Zorvani ships waited in absolute silence. Not a threat. Not yet. Just watching. Knew they were there. Everyone did. But Earth chose not to respond with ships or demands. Instead, Lena prepared something unexpected. She took the orb-like Guardian device, now fully restored after weeks of work, and connected it to the communication array deep inside the vault. It pulsed with soft blue light, then began sending a signal, not in any current language, but in the protocol of the ancient Guardians. The signal wasn't a challenge, it was an invitation. All around Earth, strange reactions began to occur. Several inactive satellites that didn't belong to Earth suddenly realigned. Deep underground bunkers in other nations long since abandoned powered up without warning. One even opened a hatch to the sky, revealing a platform no one alive remembered building. The Guardian systems weren't just on Earth, they were everywhere. Lena watched the activation logs in awe. This isn't a weapon network, she whispered. It's an awakening net. Her theory proved correct just days later. A scout vessel, belonging to a minor alien race called the Delhasi, drifted into the system damaged, powerless. They hadn't sent any distress signals. They were simply trying to escape pirates. Their engines were gone. Their heat shields were failing. Earth didn't wait. Instead of alerting the Alliance, Earth activated one of the Guardian beacons. A silent pulse reached the ship, rebalanced its power, rerouted oxygen systems, and gently guided it into orbit near Luna Base. No guns, no demands. just pure assistance. The Delhasi sent a message immediately. This is not technology, this is grace. The footage went viral across multiple systems. The Delhasi broadcasted it everywhere. For the first time in recent history, Earth's name was spoken across the galaxy with wonder, not suspicion. But the moment of peace didn't last long. The Galactic Alliance held a closed session. Their discussion was sharp and uneasy. They couldn't accuse Earth of aggression. There had been none. No threats, no hostile actions. Only systems being restored, devices being reawakened, and influence slowly shifting that was more dangerous than any weapon. One of the Alliance members, a veteran species who had once faced the Guardians, said quietly, "They are not rising through war. They are rising through memory. And that is harder to stop." Back on Earth, Lena met with Earth's Defense Council. Their military advisors were divided. Some wanted to use the tech to build a fleet. Others advised secrecy. But Lena offered a third path. "We won't lead with strength," she said. "We'll lead with understanding." That's what the Guardians once stood for. If we try to dominate, we lose the very meaning behind what we've rediscovered. The Council hesitated. Earth had never had this kind of power before. Then came an unexpected signal. A single Zorvani ship detached from its formation and slowly approached Earth's orbit. No weapons armed. No aggressive stance. It sent a transmission in the oldest Guardian code. Request. Open dialogue. Location. Vault Echo. Purpose. Clarification. Earth was stunned. The Zorvani had always spoken with pride, with command. But this message felt different. Lena accepted the request. The Zorvani delegate was not what she expected. Older, thoughtful, and calm. He did not bring guards. He carried no device. Only a simple crystal, the same kind found in the vault's energy core. He placed it on the console and spoke softly. "Our people misunderstood. We did not know what we held when we found these relics. We believed them broken. We repurposed them, offered them to Earth as a token. Nothing more. We thought it would remind you of your place." He paused. "But you did not remember your place. You remembered your purpose." Lena didn't reply at first. The silence stretched between them. Then she said quietly, "Earth isn't trying to return to the past. We're trying to honor what it meant." The Zorvani nodded slowly. "Then others will come. Some will offer peace. Others will test you. Be ready." With that, he left. Earth watched as the Zorvani ships vanished into deep space. They had not threatened. They had not warned. But their silence spoke louder than any speech. Back in the vault, new coordinates appeared. A set of systems, far beyond known space. Lit up on the ancient map, they were marked simply as Guardian Sites. Incomplete. Lena looked up at the stars. Whatever came next, Earth wasn't stepping into power. It was stepping into memory. Into legacy, to something the galaxy had forgotten but Earth never would again. A soft glow pulsed inside Vault Echo, rhythm steady like a heartbeat. The once forgotten systems had reawakened completely. No alarms, no fanfare, just a quiet hum. As if the very walls remembered who they were waiting for. Earth had not declared itself. There were no great speeches, no fleets launched. And yet, across the stars, a silent shift had begun. The message was clear. Humanity remembered. The signal from Vault Echo continued to echo outward. Old satellites, long assumed to be dead space debris, lit up in distant corners of Earth's orbit. Ancient Earth-built systems blended with Guardian tech began transmitting old protocols and low-frequency bands no one had used in centuries. Not even Earth itself. But someone else was listening. Hidden systems on alien planets. Left behind during the fall of the Guardians awoke for the first time in thousands of years. Tiny lights blinked in old control rooms buried beneath alien cities. Forgotten terminals and deep caves flickered alive. And in some distant observatories, old watchers looked at their screens in silence, eyes wide with recognition. They had heard that signal once before. It belonged to the Guardians, and this time, it came from Earth. Lena stood in the heart of the vault, studying the new coordinates glowing on the star map. 7 locations now pulsed across the galaxy, each one marked as incomplete Guardian node. Some were deep in wild space, others inside the territory of races who now claimed power. Recovering them would not be easy, but they had to try. Reached out to a small group of trusted ally scientists, explorers, and historians from across Earth. Not governments, not military, just people who believed in truth. Together, they formed the Echo Initiative, a civilian-led mission to rediscover what had been lost and unlock what remained hidden. The first Echo mission was quiet. A small ship, barely larger than a cargo shuttle, launched from Earth. Its course was plotted carefully, outside the eyes of galactic traffic. Its mission, locate the first incomplete node. Deep inside the Wereth expanse, a star system no race had claimed in over 3,000 years. Meanwhile, changes were happening in the galaxy. Smaller species, those without great armies or powerful alliances, sending messages to Earth, not asking for weapons, but for understanding, for guidance. Some remembered old tales about humanity. Others simply felt something different in the quiet confidence. Earth now showed. One message from the peaceful Markai read simply, "We heard the signal. We remember the Lightkeepers. Are you there, children?" Lena didn't know how to answer at first. but she sent back a message with just one sentence. We are not their children, we are the same hands. Picking up the light again, the message spread, and so did concern. The Galactic Alliance, after weeks of silent observation, held its first public meeting about Earth. Though they didn't use hostile language, their questions were sharp. Is Earth rearming? Are the Guardians reforming under human command? Should the balance of the galaxy be discussed before it shifts without our consent? But they had no proof. Earth had fired no weapons, made no threats. The vault systems worked in silence, without warships or demands. The power came not from might but memory, and memory, once awakened, could not be erased. Meanwhile, the Echo mission found the first node. It was hidden beneath the surface of a cold, rocky moon orbiting a gas giant. Its outer structure had been damaged by time, but the core remained untouched. Inside, the same soft blue light waited, just like Vault Echo on Earth. The moment Lena's team activated it, something extraordinary happened. A signal burst outward, traveling faster than light, reaching deep into the unknown parts of the galaxy. Not just a pulse, an invitation. The vaults weren't just tools. They were calling points, beacons like stars, waiting to be relit, and they weren't calling only to Earth. The data revealed something unexpected. Somewhere far beyond even the old star maps, something else had activated at the same time. A vault, larger than any recorded, hidden in a system labeled only as Origin. Lena stared at the display. Origin wasn't Earth, she whispered. The systems didn't answer, but the coordinates were real, and now, the race had begun. Not for control, not for war, but for understanding. Still, not all races welcomed this change. In the darker corners of the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Some leaders feared Earth would restore a system that could no longer be controlled. Others worried that humanity would rise above the Council, and a few remembered what the Guardians once did when balance was threatened. They began to prepare not for attack, but for resistance. But Earth didn't send fleets. It sent envoys, not to demand, but to listen. Lena led the efforts herself, reaching out to old enemies and new allies, sharing data freely. Her message was simple. We don't rise to lead, we rise to remind. What we left behind was never power. It was responsibility. In time, even some of the Council's younger species began to question the narrative they were told, not because Earth had forced them to, but because the truth no longer hid. One final event cemented the shift as the third vault came online near a long-abandoned trade route. An old Guardian satellite activated. It didn't broadcast warnings or commands. It played a soft, echoing chime. And from the depths of the stars, ships began responding. Not warships, not governments, but independent travelers, lost families, quiet groups that had hidden in exile since the fall. Old Guardians, they were not gone, they were waiting, and Earth, once laughed at for receiving useless weapons, now stood as the spark that relit an ancient flame. The galaxy looked at Earth differently now, not as a threat, not as a leader, but as a reminder that even forgotten light still lives, and sometimes all it takes is one hand to turn it back on.